Hey, what's up? It's Friday. It's Rumor and Innuendo. I'm Dominic D'Angelo of AdFreeShows.com, Podcast Heat Wrestling, and Studio1Sports.com. But I'm here with Mr. Robert Karplis, W Creative underscore ish. We're going to talk a little TNA, a little SmackDown, who knows what else. But Robert, happy to have you here today, man.
Dude, it was in the 30s this morning here. This is unnatural.
My
This
goodness.
goes against God's will. There are frozen iguanas littering the streets. Genuinely, it's terrifying. You go and they're just flipped upside down. They look like they're dead. They're not. Nothing can kill a frozen iguana, just like nothing can kill TNA. But we'll talk about that in just a minute. We'll say hi to the folks joining us here. Cami Star says, after morning, guys. Started working stiff this morning. Boy, the first part is pleasant. Too bad Scott will wreck it. This week's episode of Working Stiff is up. As I mentioned yesterday, Scott didn't show up for the first 20 minutes or so of recording. So it was me having a conversation with myself. And I still found a way to argue with myself. So you have to admire that. Willie
Ooh.
Thornbrew says, signed up for AMC Plus yesterday afternoon, canceled my subscription immediately following Impact. You didn't want to watch the vampire shows. There's an interview with the vampire and then another show with a vampire. I don't know. A lot of vampire
Dark
related
Winds.
programming. Hmm?
Dark Winds.
Yeah, Dark Winds, which may or may not be about vampires. I don't
I
know.
don't know.
Wanna Breeze says, hello, R&I. So, Dom, did you talk to Robert about matching tattoos yet?
That was one of the discussions on the live stream last night. I went live on Studio1Sports.com to cover
We'll we'll
TNA.
get to that in a minute because now I'm genuinely concerned about what I missed. Wrestling Old Head
Yes.
says, good after morning, everyone. That TNA premiere on AMC was something. Not Jake something, just regular something. And AJ Styles was in and out so fast, he must have been double parked. Eric Maroon says, Billy could have put up on a better show on the CW than whatever that was last night. How dare you? We don't have time to talk about Billy and the CW, unfortunately, today.
No, no.
But you know who used to be on Billy and the CW quite a bit was EC3. And I wonder where he's going to be at like 6:05 tomorrow.
Oh, well, guess what, Robert? He is going to be on Studio1Sports.com. That's right. We are going to have it's New Game Plus, his one pay per view going on here to start off the new year. EC3 is going to be taking on Carson Drake, one of a great heel. You got to check him out. And then we also have Cal Hero on the card. Richard Holiday will be in action as well, and some newcomers as well that you can check out. But also big man Duke Davis and Gannon Jones. Be sure to check it out. NWA World Heavyweight Championship also on the line. Silas Mason defending the title. Speaking of that, so get ready for that. That'll be Studio1Sports.com. Like Robert said, 6:05 p.m. tomorrow. So be sure to tune in for free.
Wrestling Old Head throwing out a great suggestion here said, I wonder if EC3 will be the newest member of the system.
Wow, that would be very intriguing, actually.
That would certainly be intriguing. Richard Holiday, I worked with years ago at a company whose name we will not mention. He was in a stable with Hammerstone and MJF. Fun tidbit: the original pitch that I had given was MJF with EC3 as a. This is when EC3 was coming off of his most recent run at the top at another company, and I was going to call them the Entitlement, with title being in gold.
Ooh, I like it. That's great. See,
It was going to be fantastic, and then we got what we got, and I'm here. Dom, you really strained yourself to come up with a title for this this Friday's episode.
I went all out.
I sometimes don't notice the titles. I don't know why today I did, but it was TNA on AMC good?
What do you think, Robert? Was it?
It was good for the business that TNA was on a major cable network on primetime television from 9 to 11 p.m. At no point during the broadcast did a light fall on anybody. Nobody broke an arm, a leg, a clavicle. So from that perspective, it was good. I think the show was. Did you ever see Deadpool and Wolverine?
Of course, I love that movie. That
Okay.
Yeah.
So those of you who haven't seen it, there was this place called the Void, where characters from different continuities got dropped in, and I guess that's what TNA is. There were so many people I didn't realize were still wrestling, and were prominently featured on TNA programming, that it really felt like the Void from Deadpool and Wolverine, where I was like, you know what? Good for them. I'm glad that they are working there.
I guess in this situation, Wolverine, AJ Styles would be Wolverine because he was there, and we don't expect him to come back either.
Oh yeah,
At
no.
least for now.
AJ Styles was there in the way that Gordon Bombay, when he got pulled over for his, I believe it was a DUI, and they're like, you have to go coach this Pee Wee hockey team, the Mighty Ducks, and the second you can get out of there, you're going to get out of there. That was the vibe AJ Styles gave. Like, all right, I'm going to show up, I'm going to wave, and then I got things to do.
To be honest though, I thought ultimately his usage was fine. I didn't expect too much more of that, to be honest, of what they were doing with it.
It worked. Look, if I'm tuning in because I was a casual fan or a WWE fan and I wanted to kick the tires on this, hey, here's AJ Styles. There's a guy I know coming out to music I don't, because it was his TNA theme, which was fine, and it was giving you a little bit of the rub. From a structural standpoint, opening with the Hardys and Elijah, dude, I didn't know Elijah was in the company.
How did you?
I didn't know Elias was still wrestling. I'll be perfectly honest. It was kind of fun to see him.
Yeah.
And that was my first little like, oh yeah, Jennifer Garner did play Elektra.
How about that?
And then they took on Order 4.
Mm-hmm.
I know Mustafa Ali.
Yep.
I guess this is sort of very similar to the stable that he had in WWE with Dijak and Mason and God, what the hell was that even called? Retribution. There it is.
Yeah.
They sort of over-explained and under-explained at the same time. They kept saying Order 4. I don't know what that is. It made me think of the thing from Attack of the Clones. Not Attack of the Clones. Revenge of the Sith, where there was the order to kill all the Jedi.
Yes. Yes.
My wife's gonna be mad at me that I don't remember that off the top of my head.
She's not a Star Wars fan?
She is a Star Wars. No, she's a Star Wars fan. She's gonna be mad that I didn't know what it was called.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
She would have been like, "What the hell, man?" You got to tell the story for people who might not necessarily know exactly who they all are. They took the time to show the video package of why Elijah and Mustafa Ali are dealing with each other. Then they gave you a 6-man that was, yeah, if you're tuning in, hey, I get to see the Hardys. I get to see a dude that I kind of know in Mustafa Ali. I get to see a dude that I kind of know in Elijah, if you're a generic fan. The match was fine. They're not going to be blowaway matches like what you see on Dynamite, and you're not going to be emotionally invested in them the way that you may be on a Raw or a SmackDown. But for your first match, your first outing, you're going to go with your hot hand. In this case, it's the Hardys.
There's such familiarity there with the Hardys and with Elijah too. Like you just said, like, oh, there he is, and I know that guy. He was the guy that walked with Elias. So
then there was the big dude who's Agent Zero.
That's right, Big Bill Collier, former IWC World Heavyweight Champion, as a matter of fact.
And when I hear Agent Zero, all I think of is when Kramer was Movie Phone.
Hello,
you have selected Agent Zero. So every time they kept saying it, that's all I kept hearing in the back of my head. Then the Righteous come out to attack the Hardys.
Mm-hmm.
Big fan of the Righteous. Had an opportunity to work with them in BRCW. Hooking Jeff's ear with the chain and then beating up Matt Hardy. It was impactful. It told you the story. But boy, the commentators really quickly tried to rush that. I guess that the narrative they've been telling the last several weeks is the Righteous respect the Hardys, and they see them not as adversaries, but as aspirational beings. So when they did attack them, it was supposed to mean something. But again, if this is your first stop on the bus tour as a fan, you didn't quite understand what was going on. It felt a little rushed.
I agree with you a lot on that because, the Righteous are such a cool act, I think, overall as a package. If you handled them in a different manner, introduced them to AMC audience in a new manner, it would have meant a lot more, I think, than what they actually did with it.
Well, they're also a known commodity from our friends over at AEW. So most people who know the Righteous know they're heels, they're spooky. There's an eeriness to them. Nobody's thinking, oh, here come baby faces that respect the Hardys.
Yeah, that
It's
too.
fine. They had a bunch of celebrities in the crowd, shot poorly, by the way, because they were all empty seats behind all these influencers. I'm like, I don't know who blocked that production wise. That was sloppy and bad. Hated that. The dude from Dark Skies, I recognized. He's been in a bunch of different things. And I
Hmm.
was like, oh, it's that guy. And then they used Ryan Nemeth in the Heath Slater spot of, oh, there's a celebrity. We're going to send somebody out there who's going to go get his ass kicked. Ryan Nemeth was fine in that spot. He kind of like nutshotted himself by landing on the barricade, which was a little whatever. And then the dude slapped him, and then that was it. And that guy was just there the rest of the night.
I also noticed that Ryan Nemeth took a page out of Rusev's book and wore a Betty Boop shirt instead of a Mickey Mouse T-shirt. Did you notice that?
No, Wrestling Olympic goes, hey, you guys like Dark Winds? I only know Dark Winds because they used to advertise it during like Better Call Saul.
They did. Hmm.
Didn't know it was still on the air. Not a show that I've watched. Also, I don't think they showed a clip of Dark Winds.
They did. They did a
Did
little.
they?
Yeah, it was later on in the show though.
Oh, it was later on in the show, but not when they were there. But it was cool to make it seem like, hey, we got celebrities. And then Santino came out, and I went through every emotion on the Santino gamut. Like I his entire career all in one night. It went, oh, I haven't seen Santino in forever. This is going to be great. I used to be really sick of him, but this is kind of fun. And then by the end of the night, I was like, you know what? I never need to see Santino Marella again as long as I live.
I thought he stole the show. I just love Santino.
Small doses, but he was in so many segments on a 2-hour show. It kind of makes you appreciate Adam Pearce and Nick
Yeah,
Aldis,
there's
who
a balance.
apparently I do a decent Nick Aldis impression, which I didn't know. If you go listen to Working Stiff, I busted that out. Never one that I've done before, but
I can't wait to check it out.
so they told the story admirably that I guess his daughter, who's in NXT, turned on him, and she was the one that was secretly letting NXT interlopers in through the back door of the Impact Zone. And because he's sad about his daughter, they had to bring in Daria Ray.
Forgive me, but I did not know who this was for like the first 10 seconds she walked out. Really had to take a little bit for me to recognize it was Sonya Deville.
Well, at first they said the name, and then I was like, "Who's Daria?" And then I was like, "Oh, it's Sonya Deville. Good for her." Again, she debuts. She gets put into a position of authority, and she turns on Santino.
Lots going on.
Was this the series premiere and finale of AMC TNA? Like, where they like, we got to get everything in one episode. Like, let's just get it all out there. I get it. She's a heel. You want to set her up as a heel. Okay. And then they brought out Elena Black, who is Cora Jade from
NXT.
NXT. Yes. Which is funny because I'm not telling tales out of school. She was down here in South Florida doing some work with getting training. Her and Mandy Rose were getting into shape. They shot a little something for, I think, Mandy's channel over at CCW, Coastal Championship Wrestling, which is affiliated with Boca Raton Championship Wrestling. So I had gotten some pictures that Elena Black was training in a ring with those folks. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I wonder what she's going to be doing. And then, boom, there she was.
There she is. What do you think of her overall? Do you think there's a lot of potential for her to kind of resurrect her career in certain ways in TNA?
So I think it depends on how seriously she's going to take it. She was in NXT for a while. The hope was that she was going to be a big deal on the main roster in WWE. It ultimately didn't come to fruition. So there's a chance that either she comes here to TNA, she gets a chance to really shine, and then gets another opportunity potentially somewhere else, or she's doing some stuff in TNA. She's making a lot of money doing the OnlyFans content that she's doing with Mandy Rose, similar to what we see with Ash by Elegance. And she's going to make a fine living. Like, she'll be able to do some TNA appearances. She'll be able to do whatever it is that she's doing as a side hustle. And, God bless.
Yeah, I agree with that. She's got some options, that's for sure. She would like.
Speaking of the Elegance brand,
Mm-hmm.
Ash by Elegance, by the way, I think the world of her. She was worked with her numerous times at BRCW. She was our BRCW Women's Champion until she had to relinquish it due to her injuries. I did not know Perez Hilton was still alive.
Oh, now you do.
I haven't thought it was such a visceral. Oh my God, is it 2003?
That's honestly, last night was the first time I ever heard him talk. Never seen him or interacted with his platform at all,
I
ever.
feel like I've heard him talk maybe like on a VH1, like I love the whatevers that would
Oh,
just be
like one
like
of, yeah.
on randomly. Um, Perez Hilton for you kids was a dude who ran a website where he would post pictures of like paparazzi photos of female celebrities like getting out of their car with an upskirt angle, and then he would draw like dicks on their faces.
Wow, I didn't know that. Is that how he got popular?
That he would post because he would post like very catty kind of Bravo style, snarkiness about celebrities like Lindsay Lohan or Paris Hilton or Nicole Richie, people who were famous for being famous.
Yes.
And then I thought he, got swallowed by a whale and was carted out to sea, but apparently not. He was there. We got the Elegance brand versus the Inspiration, who were the Iconics.
Mm-hmm.
Again, didn't know they were still working. Thought they were delightful back when they were in WWE. This, if you had 3 matches to put on television,
Yeah.
and you put this women's tag match on there,
Mm-hmm.
probably not one of the matches I would have put on TV.
Agreed.
This was about as good as your audio is usually, or as good as your ability to post shows on time,
On time.
or as good as some of the sweatshirts you bust out. Um,
Jets.
well, not yeah, exactly, because you're wearing your damn Jets sweatshirt, you
Why am I
jerk.
flaunting that?
The New York Football Giants, by the way, hell of a pickup there with Harbaugh.
I know. The Jets are just looking out the window.
Every time I hear his name, I always think of when Daryl Hammond on
Screech.
Saturday Night Live would do the Meet the Press. You watch a
Oh,
Harbaugh. Or Chris Matthews. He would do Chris Matthews. It's like every time.
I thought you were gonna
Uh,
go with Screech. Jim Harbaugh. You remember that?
they did an injury report, which I thought was kind of novel. Number one, I love that it was sponsored and branded. I think that was really clever. Number two, it was a way to spotlight a lot of talent who wasn't on this week. Like AEW could take a page from this because there's a lot of talent like BRCW heavyweight champion Steve Macklin, who was not competing on this show, but it was a way to remind you he was attacked because of what the damn interlopers from NXT did.
Yeah.
It's a novel concept. I like it. It's a way to refresh and remind people who's on the roster, who's not necessarily featured that week. Again, we then went to the Void, and Indy Hartwell was there.
Yes.
She was great when she was in NXT. Happy to see her here. Happy to hopefully get to see her in weeks to come. And then Lai Ying, she was in NXT.
Was she Exiley or whatever her name was?
Yeah, Xia Li.
Xylee.
She's the women's champion. They talked about the visa issues, which I had heard about going into the show. There was a number of different visa problems that were going on getting folks into the U.S. So because of that, she needed a new opponent for the Genesis pay-per-view, which somehow was not sponsored by Sega. And that brought out Zarya and Sol Ruka. Zarya versus Li Ying Li. I feel terrible. I butchered the way I
It's
wrote that.
tough. It's tough.
But I love that. It's a good replacement. It'll be a good solid match for Genesis. Would have been a good solid match for TNA's Impact premiere, but that's beside the point.
Great point.
Cedric Alexander, good to see that dude. Think the
Mhm.
world of him. Shocked AEW didn't swoop in and try to get him. I know he re-signed with TNA, but you would think with the way that the Hurt Syndicate's been going and the success that Shelton Benjamin's had and the time that they've given that group, Cedric would have been a no-brainer to bring him back. But is what it is.
I think this is actually the right move on his part to do to go to TNA instead. I think there's the opportunity to really incorporate him in the X division more so and make him a big highlight of that. And to what we were saying about somebody like Alana Black or whoever, he gets a big just the spotlight on him. So I think it's a good move on their part, actually, on his part to stay with them.
He does. The narrative here was he was supposed to be wrestling Leon Slater at the pay-per-view, but again, those damn visa issues. So now it's going to be him versus Moose versus Joe Hendry. And I like that
Said
they
his
did the
name.
bit where they said his name and the phone rang and then he appeared on the phone. That was cute. That was a good little. You got to give a a replacement that's as big or bigger, that is as big or bigger. Makes total sense to me.
I get it.
Uh, we then got the System.
Yes. Didn't know they were baby faces. I was surprised.
There was nothing about that presentation that was babyface. I'm so glad you said that. Again, as a not a constant viewer, as someone who has had the privilege and pleasure of working with some of these folks, including Moose and Brian Myers, didn't know they were baby faces. They come out in what feels like a heel situation to set up Eddie Edwards, who's going to be wrestling Fandango or JDC
Hmm.
in JDC's retirement match.
And it didn't feel like it's going to be. It almost felt like an angle, right? Did it feel like that to you?
I don't know. I also was surprised because Fandango was so charismatic, and he was super charismatic back when he was on NXT before they
Yes.
made him that gimmick. It was totally devoid of any personality.
Yeah, it was really strange. I was saying on the live stream last night that I love Dirty Dango when he became like it was 2 years ago or whatever it was at WrestleCade. He came out to Aha Take on Me, was smoking like a cigarette. It was a great like charismatic kind of gimmick, a heelish gimmick too. It was really good stuff. So I always like him, yeah, but it was a little. He was just more direct about no personality really being shown at that one.
Odd decision. Also, it was an odd decision to bring out Dixie Carter.
Robert, I was shocked actually that she got booed. I was seriously shocked. I was
Have you
honestly.
never watched professional wrestling before?
I have, but I watched it 10 years ago when she got booed, but that was 10 years ago. I thought it would just be kind of like people would really be like, "Oh, wow, Dixie's here. That's kind of cool," even though like there is that polarization to her. But I was really shocked that she got booed, to be honest.
I guess Claire Lynch was unavailable. I guess Vince Russo was unavailable.
Bro,
Um, bro,
my bro.
people don't like her. She was bad for the product. Look,
Did you
if I
think
want,
Bully Ray was going to powerbomb her?
I love that they were like, oh, there's this tension because of this moment that happened years ago that I vaguely remember. The whole point was that they were going to, Bully was trying to put her through a table and then eventually put her through a table.
Yeah.
Dude,
Look, I would have if I had Dixie in that situation. Listen, I was shocked that she got booed, but I would have made it say like, okay, Dixie, look, if you get booed, just go heel on the crowd. Just do that, and
oh, sorry.
no, and
The
you could have
wrestling
just
old head
made it.
hit the nail on the head right here. He goes, what a hell of a trade off. You lose Jake something, Ace Austin, and the Rascals. But hey, you get Bully Ray and Dixie Carter.
Boy, yeah, that's a
But
different kind of change of
you did
pace.
get the main event of Santana
Mhm.
versus Frankie Kazarian.
I liked the match. I liked it. And I think Santana is the right move to make him the champ and put him in that position because he's got such charisma. I think like it's not something that he hammers you with, but he's there. He feels like a organic, natural talent, and so yeah, I enjoyed and I thought it was cool that Frankie Kazarian, established TNA original, was in the main event for this. So it made a lot of sense in that regard, Robert.
Yeah. Look, it felt like he was put there as a transitional champion to take the title off of Santana just so he could lose to Santana on the show. I thought that was a good decision to go with this as your main event to give us a title change. So now, like we talked about it yesterday with Mike Bennett, like now you get to take the journey with Santana as your world champion, and I guess he's going to be taking on Nick Nemeth at the pay per view. Was kind of disappointed we didn't get Nemeth on the show at all.
I
I
was
would have
too. I
had
was
him.
surprised.
I would have had him in a suite somewhere,
Hmm.
watching with a bucket of champagne or something like that. This was the symbolic, one of your sort of TNA somewhat originals, which it's crazy because I remember when I was talking with Frankie probably about a year ago that I was there when he was on Velocity,
Wow, wow. I guess you would have been, huh?
and he was.
Wow.
I thought he was great. I didn't understand why we didn't do anything with him way back when.
Yeah, he would have. I think he would have been a great person to have in WWE at that time, no doubt. Um, Robert, does it? I guess I gotta ask. Does it hook you to watch next week? And what, if so, what did hook you to watch next week?
No, nothing hooked me to watch next week other than the fact that it's available in an easier to consume version than what it was before. It was on a channel I didn't get on my TV.
Hmm.
I wasn't going to use whatever app it was on. I don't know if it was on Twitch.
Yes, it was on Twitch
Okay.
for the time being, and then
I don't
Access TV.
Access TV, which again I don't get, so I couldn't watch it. So now it's there. It's on my DVR. I can go and watch it and enjoy. There's a lot of friends that are there. AJ Francis, good to see him out on TV. Obviously, Steve Macklin, Ash, uh, Nemeth, a lot of good people. This was not their best foot forward. I thought the video packages they did highlighting the history of TNA, the history of their world title, the history of the Knockouts division, and the X division was a lot of, hey, we used to have Samoa Joe and Sting.
That's an interesting way to look at it because I felt differently about it. I was like, oh, it's showcasing who was there and the what the X Division title means. But that's a good point too. I mean, it does. It's a give or take kind of aspect to it, double edged sword kind of thing with it.
I like that they were trying to establish like there's a history of this company. We've been around for 24 years, and a lot of big names have passed through these doors. So this is kind of the place to watch as a secondary feeder system for WWE. Um, it also is against zero competition. You know, if they were going up
Mhm.
against Collision, I'd be worried for them. If they were going up against NXT, I'd be worried for them. There is no other mainstream wrestling program airing on Thursday nights. It's a good 2 hours of TV that you can kind of sit and watch. It's not going to be offensive. I think part of the issues they ran into were probably some of those visa issues. Not having access to Leon Slater, definitely problematic. I don't know who else could have been on the card or could have been on the show that wasn't. The production overall looked pretty solid. I know there were a couple of hiccups and issues on there. Commentary was very good. You know,
Agreed.
we'll see.
I do think they did miss that aspect too of having like a huge name kind of just show up. Yeah, obviously AJ Styles would advertise and things like that, but I would have put like a really concerted effort into having like a really big name as well. Just
Well, they
make
got. I mean, Cora Jade is a name that audiences know. Sonya Deville is a name that audiences know. I don't know who is a free agent out there on the men's side that could have shown up and really significantly moved the needle. I know people are like, oh, what about Jericho? Jericho wasn't showing up on this.
Well, I just even mean like a legacy name that doesn't necessarily even have to wrestle. Like, what if you? I mean, it would have been cool to see like Abyss show up even or have like some sort of appearance made.
Well, you had
Uh,
AJ.
you did have AJ. I
I mean,
just
you got to remember the other legacy names that are agents in WWE right now are Abyss and Bobby Roode.
you're right.
So you could easily have either one of them. Wrestling Old Head says Braun Strowman is out there. Um, don't make me ban you. But also, Braun Strowman isn't going to be there because he's going to want a lot of money.
Yeah, it's true.
That's part of why he's not in WWE is they weren't going to spend that kind of money to keep Strowman around.
Yeah.
And to put him in TNA, I don't think it's doing anybody any favors. Danny Huckins, PW, says the show was a massive disappointment. They didn't up their production. I liked the Righteous Attack, the Hardys building to Saturday. I liked the Kaz versus Santana match. That's about it. Yeah, but to be fair, that was like kind of half of the show. It was not a well laid out show on paper, other than, hey, we're going to remind you that the Hardys are here. We're going to spotlight the women, but this was probably not the best spotlight for the women. And we're going to give you a very solid main event world title match.
Yeah, that's basically it, Robert. We'll see how they do next week. I will tune in just to check it out, see how they follow up. Real quick before we close out, SmackDown's tonight. Drew McIntyre is going to speak. What would you do? How would you position him as the
Is
new
SmackDown
champion?
tonight or is it this afternoon? Are they in Europe?
Probably this afternoon because they're in London. So I'd imagine
Yes,
it's
I was gonna say they're in London, or I know they're somewhere. I think the narrative for Drew is there are these 8 guys coming after him, and there's 2 guys who don't get a shot at him, which is Jacob Fatu and Cody. So it's a good way to rub it in and be like, I don't know if it's going to be Randy Orton or if it's going to be Matt Cardona or Damian Priest. But I tell
that's
you who
pretty
it's not
good.
going to be. It's not going to be Cody. And you're like, cool. That kind of works.
Mm-hmm. Yes, SmackDown the future House of Hobbs too, Robert.
No.
There is a report from Fightful that he could go to SmackDown on the main He had a main roster offer.
I think I would put him on the main roster. I don't know that I would necessarily put him on SmackDown right now. But
Yeah,
I'd have to think a little bit about that.
I would too. I would too.
There's a lot of give and take of where they could ultimately put Hobbs, but I think that the fact that Hobbs sees the opportunity in WWE as the path to be the most successful makes a lot of sense. The reason I would back off putting Hobbs on SmackDown right now is your breakout babyface right now on SmackDown is going to be Jacob Fatu. Your breakout heel on SmackDown right now is going to be Trick Williams. To then put
Yeah.
Hobbs in there as well, unless they call it crazy audible and he answers the Carmelo Hayes U.S. title open challenge. But they're not going to do that in London. Maybe they do that next week.
True that. True that. We'll have to wait and see, Robert.
But you don't have to wait too long to see us, as we'll be back on Monday, as we are every Monday through Friday at noon Eastern on a plethora of platforms, including the WW Creative _ISH X account, the at Dominic D'Angelo X account, the at SE Scoops X account, and on YouTube on Rumor and Innuendo, Podcast Heat, and ad-free shows. So on behalf of the original Pittsburgh Penguin, Dominic D'Angelo, I'm Robert Karpolis. Best of luck in your future endeavors.
Me and Yammer Yarger, baby. Just like that.
Shh.